This is the Flabbergasted podcast, where we just can't believe you haven't seen it. Every episode, we discuss a movie that one of us has seen and the other hasn't. Follow us on Instagram @FlabberPod and subscribe in your podcast app of choice. I'm your host, Jessica. Let's get to it. I'm here with Rachel Merriman again.
Hi, guys.
And we are going to talk about the movie Prey, which is the fourth film in the Predator franchise. It's basically a prequel, and I'm just confirming if it's the fifth film. My bad. Prequel to the other four. It's a 2022 American sci-fi film directed by Dan Trachtenberg.
Yeah, so in this film, their little kind of spiel about it is they hunt to live. It lives to hunt. In the Great Plains in 1719, Naru, a fierce and highly skilled Comanche warrior, sets out to protect her people when an unknown danger threatens them. But the prey she is stalking turns out to be a highly evolved alien predator with a technologically advanced arsenal. So I grew up watching... Which honestly, with my background, is kind of wild. I grew up watching like the Alien and Predator movies.
For sure.
Predator more than Alien. But we definitely, AVP was kind of one of the ones I enjoyed more than the rest of them. And so I was excited to watch this one when you had mentioned it. Because I was like, yeah, I have history with this. I like the kind of weird sci-fi fighting stuff. You and I both like the fighting style movies. So this one was a fun one.
I always liked AVP as well.
Really?
I remember the Arnold Predator movie very, very basically. I just remember him getting all muddy to disguise the heat signature.
Yep.
And then I remember him hanging the people upside down in the Danny Glover Predator movie.
Okay.
Which is set in LA or something, and Danny Glover's a cop, and the Predators,
I remember the Arnold one more because that was the one that I watched a little bit more, but the other ones I would have to kind of rewatch to really get, because it's been a minute since I've seen them.
And AVP I just liked because, I don't know, fun fact, haven't seen any of the Alien movies.
Oh, you haven't seen any of them?
None of them.
Really?
So
that's so interesting.
And if we're, I prefer the Predator over the Alien anyway. So there's
So when you watched AVP, seeing the Predator and the Alien, that didn't lead you to be like, oh, I'm kind of interested on the Alien side of things.
Not really.
Okay. I mean, I definitely watched, I had seen bits and pieces of the Alien ones, but after I watched AVP, I did go through and watch the Alien ones just because it's I kind of wanted to see that history with it and to kind of get to know more of the background of AVP and kind of what brought that together.
Okay, yes. And I have to backtrack for just a minute because I did see the movie Prometheus, which is, I guess, technically an alien movie. But I'm thinking, when I say alien movies, I'm thinking of the ones with Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking of as well.
So haven't seen those. I want to point out before we start talking about the actual, more about the movie, is it has some awards. Hollywood Music in Media Award, Best Original Score, Golden Reel Awards, Outstanding Achievement in Sound Editing, Fangoria Chainsaw Awards. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Best Streaming Premiere, Best Costume Design, Best Creature Effects. And then it has a bunch of awards that it was nominated for and pending. So it's done pretty good, I would say. I do all of my watching TV, I stream everything. I don't really watch TV anymore. So I pop open Hulu and I'm getting ready to watch something on Hulu. And that's where I saw the preview for this movie. And I'm like, oh, okay, I want to watch that when it's out. So we watched it pretty much the weekend it started streaming. Yeah.
Gotcha. Nice.
And so that was really fun. I always enjoy, I don't know, it's just, I knew I would like it. So it was just right up my alley.
Yeah. I had it in my saved list And it's been there like since I first saw it pop up on Hulu, and I just had never gotten around to it. So like I was like, yeah, I'll do this eventually. It just hadn't gotten there yet.
For sure. And you know what? Give me a girl hero. I always love that. You know?
Yeah.
Give me a solid main female character. I'm down.
Going along with their awards, I really did like the soundtrack throughout it. Like that was something I did notice more often. And I think that's mainly because like also, I've been around you and Rogie for a while, like watching shows, and so we talk more about the music and the background and stuff like that. And so I did really appreciate the music that was going with it and the flow that it led to it, as well as the costume design. I noticed specifically how she had pants on compared to just like a cloth or like different stuff like that. And some of the other boys were dressed less than her. Like we saw more body from some of the men than we did the women. And so there was
definitely a variation.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I think is like really great because I wouldn't know what's authentic 1700 Native American indigenous person attire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so they had a nice range of it, and we got to see some different just outfits out of multiple people. So I liked that we weren't getting like Pocahontas, like in her little skirt and top, and also out there like kicking butt.
Yeah.
So
it seemed so much more, for a sci-fi movie, it seemed so much more realistic.
Yes.
Like, and I really love the attention to detail when you're talking about costume design. There's a part where she ends up in the water, and the next scene you see her out of the water, and she is wringing out the fringe of her pants.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that is like a serious detail that you could totally do off screen, but it looked like, I don't know, it just really kept you
in the moment
realistic. With her. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So if we start off the film, I have to say the way she gets woken up every morning is annoying to me. I am not a morning person, and that would irritate me so bad, but good for her that she doesn't punch anybody in the face. Like,
seeing that happen at least twice, maybe 3 times, I would have been punching somebody back. Yeah. I'd have been like, absolutely not. This is unacceptable. No words spoken, just a kick on the shoulder.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, there's something that I didn't love about that, but authentic maybe, sure, okay. But I did love something that I hate in films, and especially just for our heroes, where I don't know. I shouldn't say I hate this. I started thinking about it as I said it. It's very noticeable if they're not good at something, and then there's the little training montage, and then suddenly they're great at it at the end. But what I liked about this is you could very clearly tell that she took care of her hatchet. I think there's a difference, and I don't remember what it is, but she took care of it. Mm-hmm. She practiced throwing it all the time. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just this
thing she had on her belt.
Yeah, it wasn't a toy for her. It was like a serious tool that she used and was trying to perfect. And so I really appreciated that it wasn't something she was just like, you saw her do it a little bit and then you're like, oh, she wasn't good and now she is.
Yeah.
Like, she has the foundational skills to do what she wants to do, which is to hunt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I really like that we opened up with just kind of her traipsing around, like walking around. Like, the setting is just gorgeous. I really liked how it was filmed. I think throughout it, just like the different angles and stuff that they did, but also just the area in which they did it in, like, just absolutely gorgeous. And so I really liked that. But we did also open up with her and her relationship with the dog. And I said out loud, if anything happens to the dog, I'm going to be furious. Like,
yes, you
put a dog in a movie, I am ride or die with that dog. And if the dog, anything happens to it, I am upset. Like, no. So that was where we let off, was beautiful area. And this dog better stay alive for my emotional support. So
yes. And I love the dog. So I looked it up. The dog's named Coco. Had no previous acting experience.
Wow. So he was a newbie.
Yeah. And from what I read, was specifically adopted for the purpose of this film.
Oh, okay.
And I'm telling you, that dog was like had like a really muscular chest area, like front.
It's a beautiful dog.
And I definitely say I have points in here where I'm like, dog wins, best dog ever. But I love that. And if we're talking about the dog, one of the funny things that I wrote down was, well, I love that the dog helped with the deer when she's going to try to hunt the deer.
Yes.
Like she's going one way and the dog is herding the deer to her, which I'm like, go team.
She has very much trained it, which they talk later on about is like the training that they have of this dog, like the bond that they have of like, this is what we're going to go do. And the communication, like if there was a pill I could take where I could speak 100 languages or be able to talk to animals, I would talk to animals because I want to be able to like communicate with my dog and like figure out how they're doing and know their feelings and their emotions and like all of that. And so like I really felt that their connection was strong, and it wasn't just because it's like, yes, your man's best friend, this is what we do. Like you could see it throughout the movie. She took care of him, they took care of each other, and their the communication, the lack of communication that we can have with animals, they still was able to overcome. It wasn't
all verbal. She wasn't constantly talking to the dog. I mean, she talked to it, but she wasn't like constantly telling the dog what to do, which is something I liked. Two things I liked. Her mom says, not every smart creature is easy to train.
I felt like
burn.
Yeah, that was definitely like, you're smart and it has been difficult to train you, daughter. Like, this is what's going on.
And also very true. Like, very true. And then, so I enjoyed that about the dog. But then the other thing that I wrote down is the dog is in a lot of scenes, but isn't with her all the time. So while she's walking around, sometimes he's with her and sometimes he takes a little walk around himself or herself. I actually don't remember. And then comes back. Mm-hmm. So I liked that. And to me, that's definitely sort of wild dog territory, right? Like Daphne's
going off.
Yeah. 90% of the time she's going to be with somebody like.
Yeah, with or on top of or under a blanket. Like she's not going exploring anywhere.
Like she might try to run out of the yard for like 10 minutes, but it's not super likely. And I don't trust her to come back if she does that. Like I have to go find her.
Yeah.
Because she's gotten too distracted and is just completely gone. But this dog is like, I'm going to go on a walk and then I'll be back and we'll take a swim later or whatever. Yeah. So I love that.
Yep.
The other thing that, while we're talking about the beginning of the film, that I just took note of is she's gathering different herbs and flowers and roots and all of these things that can act as medicine. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching this and I'm thinking, if I want to know, like, what can I eat to help my upset stomach, which, by the way, peppermint. Because if I have an upset stomach, I chew some peppermint gum or I drink some peppermint tea and it totally helps. But I know that because I've looked it up on Google, right? What can help with an upset stomach or whatever. They don't have this. So how many people ate that orangish, goldish flower and died before they realized like, we should probably be real careful about how much we give this to, like, how much of this we give to people.
Start out in moderation.
I mean, I would too. But my point is like, I'm not that person who's like, let's just try this. Like, you give me an Excel spreadsheet and I'm like, ooh, let's just try moving the data like this. But I'm not exactly out in the backyard finding something to eat to see if it won't kill me. Like, that's just, I have an awe and an appreciation for that part of history where people had to do that kind of thing. And like, we have literally learned from them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is just blows my mind a little bit. Anyways.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was interesting to see, like, watch them. I mean, they're literally like making the paste and the herbs and like different stuff like that. And just how much knowledge she has from that on top of her hunting skills as well. Like, she wasn't just sticking with the one thing. Like, she was kind of building up her own arsenal of things that she could do.
She seems to be a very curious and observant, like, processor. Like, she's thinking about these things. And I could appreciate that about her character. Something else that I wrote down towards the beginning is, they decide they're going to go check out somebody took the lion. They're going to go check that out. Oh, wait. Before that, I wrote down this whole sequence of the rat eats the ant and the snake eats the rat. And then the predator kills the snake.
Oh, that's a little... I think it's the lion first.
Is it the... Well, because she finds the snake when they're hunting for the lion.
Okay, so they go for the lion. Okay. Yeah, so they go for the lion first. And my initial reaction was, where are they? Like, because I couldn't 100% tell where they were.
So are you
I'm
thinking you're
like
thinking
safari lion?
Yes,
like, and then I'm like, oh,
lion.
duh, like mountain lion. It took me a second.
Yeah.
But I was just like, oh, okay, like what's going on? But first, before that, we hear the predators' ticks and clacks. And that, like, hearing it for the first time in so long, it just took me back. And I was just like, ooh, like, okay, like, when are we going to see him? Like, when is something going to happen? Like, because, like, she's hearing it. She's listening. Like, she knows something else is out there, but she can't depict what it is. She doesn't know what it is.
Because he has stealth mode. Come on.
Yeah. Like, they just, like, dropped him off and he's just all invisible. But my first question was, why are all of the hunters babies? Like,
they're young, you mean?
Yeah, they're all like teenage boys. Like, where are the men for the hunting packs? Yes.
I mean,
They are between the age of 16 and maybe 20. Like, they all looked extremely young. And maybe that's who their hunting party is. But for some reason in my head, there should be an adult male out there with them. And maybe they've all gotten,
an adult
graduated to become a man. I don't know, but it seemed like they were all little.
I think those are probably skills that you learned at a younger age. And then I don't know what the life expectancy is.
Well, did they all, because the brother, I forgot to write down the name of it. Even if I had written it down, I wouldn't have been able to say it again. But like whatever journey they go on.
Yes, I can't pronounce it, but I know what you're talking about.
It begins with a K.
Yeah.
And so like maybe they had all completed that journey and that's why they're part of the hunting party, is because they had done that to be able to. And so now that's like the new hunting party, is once they've done that. And then maybe the other men are off doing something else.
I mean, it could be. I feel like there were a lot of people in the tribe then, like there were a lot more people than we really connected with.
Mm-hmm. We didn't see as many.
Like we saw them in the groups doing the things they were doing. And then we saw the 4 or 5 boys, youngins, 16 to 20-year-olds, as you say, and her mother. And I think like maybe their leader, but we didn't really even talk to, we barely talked to her mom.
The only other adult that spoke was the mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than the chief a little bit, but like he wasn't really talking to us.
Yeah, I don't know how old they are. I would say like there's probably, like you said, they completed their ultimate test or whatever to be able to do that, or other people were doing other things, and these were the people that were chosen to go after the lion.
Yeah,
like I don't know how many people there were total. So that's the thing that I would say. The other thing I would say that I noted is I like her brother as far as I think he's sort of in this weird limbo. Like he agrees with his friends that, for lack of a better term, she's a dumb girl, right? Like they're very judgmental about her. But at the same time, he's like, she should come with us. She knows medicine if he's hurt. Yeah. Like, he didn't say she's a good hunter.
Yeah. He was kind of finding that other way of like, this makes sense.
Of supporting her and letting her come kind of without
branching out.
Yeah, which I think is like a really tricky place to navigate. And I just want to say like, at least he tried. Mm-hmm. I mean, good for him for trying.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you had started to ask me this, like, how did you feel about the ant and mouse and snake scene?
Oh yeah, I loved it. But what did you think?
I thought it was a really neat parallel to see how we start off with one animal or creature, and then, that's the hunter, is like the mouse is getting the ant, and then the snake is getting the mouse, and then the predator is getting the snake.
Like you think you're the highest on the food chain, but
yes, like it just kind of
not.
kept progressing. And so being able to see that and just kind of like as it's outlining for the movie, I mean, that's what the predator is essentially doing is like, you know, figuring out who is the toughest one down there so he can claim his journey.
It's sort of like his trial or test of the next step or whatever.
Yeah.
I do note that they show that kind of chain reaction a couple of times. They show it with, I think it's a bunny and the coyote too.
Yes. And he ended up killing the coyote.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
Which didn't love that, but I get it for the sake of the film.
Yeah, we saw that. And so my initial thought is like, why did he? Because like he got the skull and the whole vertebrae. Mm-hmm. And I was like, ooh, like that's kind of graphic. Like that's a lot going on there.
Oh, yes. And for the record, this is rated R.
Yes, that's probably.
In case you were just wondering.
And so when I saw that happen, I was like, oh, did he take the snake's skull? Is that why he skinned it like that? Because he's collecting the skulls of the like top predator of like that match or whatever. So I didn't, and I know that he kept the wolf one, but I didn't see, I was looking to see if I saw that one, if I saw the snake one dangling from his belt as well, and I never saw it. But I was just kind of curious if he was just kind of like going through these little trials and then keeping the top one from whatever that was.
Or if he was trying to use the snake to lure somebody out. I don't know. I really don't know about that one. I know that it is part of the predator process, if you will, to take the skulls. Like that's what they do.
That. Yeah.
But okay, back to the lion. I don't want to get too far away here. I'm getting so annoyed with these guys that are just being really crappy to her. And I'm not going to lie, like as a movie watcher, not that I would ever wish this upon anybody, I was like, you know what? You kind of deserve to have your leg ripped off. Which is not really how I feel about anything. I'm so much, if this is a movie, so I'm like, you know, I'm in that headspace, but I would never wish that on anyone, obviously.
Yeah.
But I was really annoyed with that guy because she's sitting there and he's like, well, it doesn't matter how sharp it is if you're not going to use it. And
and bro's just up there talking in a tree.
Also,
they're like setting a trap. And he's just like, wow, how dumb are you at hunting? Yeah. Like, geez,
says
girl.
The guy who's yakking his trap.
Yeah. And then the lion comes up and kills him. Like, and I'm just like,
saw that coming. I mean, like, not literally, but
what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, everyone expected this. As soon as you guys climbed up there and you're talking trash and you're not even attempting to whisper.
Right.
Like, of course someone's going to come and get you, either the predator or the lion. Like, one of you, somebody's going down because of how loud you're being.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And I was really annoyed because I'm like, how do you know she's not going to use it? Like, where are you getting this?
I think they're just projecting.
I think so too.
Because there were only boys. And that's that was the gender roles within the tribe, was that the women did the gathering and the men did the hunting. And so, yeah, it's just like, we don't want to accept that there might be a girl that might be good at this. So we're just going to, watch you fail. It was
really annoying. And I did not love that. Also, I was like, why do you keep walking backwards on this limb? Like, this is not good. The limb is breaking. And that lion was well done. However, I'm just saying, if it was as big as it looked in the tree, her brother would not have been carrying it home like that.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well.
Especially after he just carried her home, apparently.
He's obviously a beast. For being the slender man that he was. Yes. He carried her home after she knocked her head on a rock and knocked herself out.
Ow.
And then went back. I know. Whenever I see it in a movie, I'm just like, I've never been hit on the head hard enough to be knocked out, but I've hit myself on the head before.
Yeah.
Like not on, bumping it or whatever. Or on accident. And like, it's just kind of like that has always hurt.
Yes.
So it's just kind of like, ooh.
Yeah. I always hate that when I see it. Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
And I got annoyed when she woke up too and her mom's like, he doesn't need your help. If he needed your help, he wouldn't have brought you back here. And I'm like, so obviously there's history here that we're not seeing because we're coming in at the movie the way we are. But obviously there's history here where they're just taking the word of these guys for whatever it is, and nobody's actually listening to her, which makes me super sad for her, first of all. Second of all, I'm proud of her because she was persistent in her pursuit of there's something else out here. And that is dangerous because they don't know what it is. So they don't know how to prepare.
Yeah.
So if they know what it is, they can prepare, they can do what they need to do to protect their community. But without knowing that, they can't do anything. And so that kind of annoyed me, but I was also very proud of her for sticking with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that it was very interesting to kind of see her get some of that tough love from her brother, and then also just that, conversation with her mother of just look, you just need to do what you need to do and move on. And literally the next scene is her waking up and deciding, no, I'm not doing this anymore. And you get not only the understanding that she is not going to do that, but also the visual of her literally going against the grain of what happens in their
what
tribe.
She had been doing before.
Yeah, she was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And her literally walking past all of the tribe's people to leave and try to go out and find this predator. It was a really nice way to see her thought process and also get that visual of this is what's happening. Not just I'm making a statement and then I'm going to go off into the woods. We got to track her feelings along with as she was doing it.
You really were there for that part of her journey and processing.
Yeah.
I like how she thought to attach the rope to the hatchet/axe.
Yeah, she just casually made a rope out of some bark,
which
and then
is intense.
Was really good at boomeranging it. She was good at throwing it and stuff.
Yeah,
and I appreciate that she did practice.
I would have liked for her to miss the catch a couple of times.
Yeah, and she wasn't as good with it at the beginning, and you did see that it was a different time of day. It wasn't all, the lighting was different during some of it. So time was passing while she was practicing.
This is the training montage that I'm talking about.
But I was just holy smokes. Let's just make a rope real quick because I can do that.
Well, she can do that, which is freaking awesome. But I love that it was applicable. There was a need. She wasn't able to get her tool back in her hand fast enough.
Yeah.
When she missed. So there was a need. She solved it creatively.
Yeah.
And then I love at the end of that sequence, you see her and she's got 5 rabbits on her back.
Yes.
Because
she just got them all.
It worked.
Yeah.
Which made me super happy.
Yeah. So in the next part, we come upon the whole herd of buffalo and how they are skinned.
Yeah, so I have a note here.
How did that impact you when you saw that? What did that look
I was
like?
really annoyed about it. And my question for you is, did you think that it was something else or did you think that it was the predator?
I assumed it was the predator.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of this is interesting.
Why would they do that?
It's a whole pack of it. And I'm he has been skinning stuff. So this makes sense.
Right.
But
then you see the cigar.
It's everybody. Okay. So I didn't realize it was a cigar.
Okay.
I saw her pick it up and it was that's kind of weird. And I just was cool. And I moved on. It wasn't until you saying it now that I was oh yeah, that tracks. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, I saw her pick up the cigar and I'm oh, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's annoying. I mean, and it's not because I don't like that concept and it was so wasteful.
Yeah.
And I just I feel that.
Yeah. 100%.
And so I was really annoyed that they were there. The French trappers were in my movie that I was enjoying.
Yes.
But yeah. So once I saw the cigar, I'm okay, this is not the predator. So now I'm okay, she's got the predator. She has potentially any other big animals that are out there. And French trappers, which I didn't know at the time. So I was just thinking it's white people.
Yeah. Something that intrigued me from that was like we saw her, she kind of said a prayer and was like sad because of, how they died wastefully.
Right.
Like, because I mean, just, in that culture, you use every piece of everything to get as many resources as you can because you don't have as many resources out there. And so like, the meat and the bones and like, they would have used those for food and then just multiple different things. And so like her just kind of saying like, I'm sorry to the animal because of how it was disrespected. And then when the predator came up and like he saw that. And so I was just like, that's weird because I didn't realize that it was the trappers. I thought it was the predator. And so I'm like, why is he being so chill, like noticing the leaf from her? Like I was confused at that part. And so I was like, how is he tracking her? Like what's going on with this? And so like that part until I saw the French trapper, like I was completely like, I was just out of it. I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like
you were actually thinking that he was tracking her at that point.
Yes.
So
yes.
I was not thinking that. I was just thinking like they're in the same area. I don't think he's tracking her specifically.
And so she stepped out of the water and he stepped in her footprint. So I thought like, okay, he's literally following her steps. And then he got to the buffalo where he picked up the leaf and he could see something on the ground, which maybe was the Sakar. So maybe he was tracking the French people and I didn't know about that. And so to me, it seemed like he was tracking her. And so that's what I was thinking, that I was like, that's kind of weird. He's retracing his steps after he did that to the buffalo and all that.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense if you're like, why is he back there? Because he was just there.
Yeah. And so then at that point, she ended up getting in the sinkhole and she got covered in mud. And I was like, oh, this is a throwback to he's not going to be able to see her. And then she was able to use her new boomerang hatchet, whatever, to like get out. And so like that was great. And I was like, okay, I feel like that's going to come back again. Like we're going to follow up with this somewhere. And then after that, that's when she went to wash herself off. And I was like, no, keep the mud on so that way he can't see you. Yeah. And then the bear came about. That's when we kind of walk into the bear situation. And again, I got so worried for the dog.
How about best dog ever?
Oh my gosh.
Distracting the bear and running away from her.
Oh, that dog is a trooper. And then like, I just thought it was so smart of her to go to the beaver dam. I was like, I would have never thought like I'm sure there's a hole I can get through to be able to hide in here. And like, I would have been absolutely terrified if there was a bear scratching his way through to get to me.
So the dog comes running back towards her. The bear comes following. She goes into the beaver dam and the predator intercepts the bear. Mm-hmm. And this is my thing. First of all, I think the predator's a hypocrite. Definitely cheating because you're being stealthy. You have the stealth camo on. That's not cool. And then my other thing is that you literally killed the snake and the coyote while they were actively hunting their own prey. Right? So you're changing the game on them. And now the bear is going after her and you're just jumping in the middle of that fight.
He makes his own rules.
Apparently,
don't care.
But I'm just saying they are hypocritical rules. But I do appreciate that now this is her first glimpse and she can really understand and see the magnitude, I think is a good word, of what she's up against because he lifts the bear up over his head. Or could be she, I don't know. The predator lifts the bear up over their head.
She gets to see how they fight, and she gets a glimpse of it because of the blood that's falling down onto him. She gets a kind of a visual, because he's still kind of in stealth mode, of his face and like what that, generally looks like. And so she's getting to learn a lot from this. It's terrifying, but she's getting to learn a lot from this interaction and what's going on with it.
And then she takes off. Mm-hmm. And this is where she runs into the group of 4 of the guys that we're here to take you home.
Yep.
Which I would say, like, I'm not a fan of all that physical force. However, she was dishing it out too.
They just start wailing on each other. And I'm just like, geez.
Which I can understand as far, like, from a standpoint of she's angry. Mm-hmm. They don't believe her. And she just saw something very, like,
scary,
dramatic, very impactful, whatever you want to call it, like, very something. And she's like, we need to let people know. And they're like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. You're coming home. And what really irritated me out of all of it is she was giving as good as she got. So I appreciated that. But then he's like, if you want to live, leave. And she starts to walk away and the other guy grabs her and throws her back towards him. And he just sucker punches her, like, right in the face.
Yeah. My thought process is like, how is this going to go down good for any of you? Like, because when you get back to the camp, she's going to tell her brother, the new war chief, because that's a thing that happened, that y'all wailed on her, like, trying to contain her. And, like, it's not going to be good for her because she went up, you know, like, they drew blood. Like, they were getting each other. And so I was like, there's no good ending scenario for anybody here. Like, I don't have a solution for you, but I also don't have a good way to move forward.
But I'm also like, did you not give instructions like bring her back unharmed?
Maybe they thought that was implied.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, who are these people that you're trusting to do these things that...
Children. They're children. They're just little baby boys.
I think we have very different definitions of children, but I would say, like, they are probably very young.
Yeah.
But if they're young enough to, or if they're old enough to go out on their own and hunt a mountain lion, I feel like they're being trusted for things and it is what it is. Like, I can't just say, oh, you're a kid, so you don't know.
Anyone under the age of 23 is like a baby or a child to me. Just for future reference. Like, I don't trust much because we're all idiots. Like, we don't know anything and we think we know everything. And so I say a lot of prayers for anyone I know that's under the age of 23.
I hear you there. But I'm saying if they are trusting them to do certain things and not other things, it's on the community to make sure they know what's right and wrong, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
and I mean, it could just be that, like, you know, they're out in the woods and so they're just kind of getting more macho. Like, they've all passed their tests.
It could also be perfectly acceptable behavior.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that it's not.
No.
What I wrote down, though, again, is I like that she gave as good as she got. Yeah. And for future reference, like later on in the movie, I think it's good that we saw that because we know she's tough enough to handle getting her butt kicked a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, she's not going to wimp out because she got punched in the face.
Yeah.
Like, she's tough and she has a pain tolerance. And I think that's important to know because she gets flipped around a lot later on and she goes through very physical altercations with different things, whether it's just nature or, you know, an adversary.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of important. The other thing that irritated me is just they're so freaking sarcastic, and I enjoy some sarcasm, but I don't enjoy it at the expense of I don't think I enjoy it at the expense of other people who are trying to be real, I guess. Like, if I'm teasing you and I'm being sarcastic, that's one thing. And we're joking. But if I'm being sarcastic and you're trying to be very sincere and you're feeling it very deeply, I don't want to be that person because that is off-putting and it's kind of mean.
Yeah.
And so to be like, you need a leash for your weapon. No, I actually have a very good, you know, functional purpose for this. So thank you for that.
I mean, that's just middle school. Like, as I was watching that scene, I was just like, this is just middle school boys. Like, this is just like,
see, I can't even say that because I know grown men.
It's middle school boy behavior in slightly older.
What I wish was people. Only middle school boy behavior. But I should caveat, not all men are horrible, where I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
Just so you know, listeners. But and then the predator attacks them.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't untie her.
Well, it's because they don't have time. The two of them, literally, the two boys were so freaked out. They were just like, shh. Like, they were literally like, be quiet because we got to figure out what's going on. Like
then the one guy, I don't actually remember which guy. The one guy gets basically killed right away. I almost said eaten, but this is not a dinosaur movie. But anyways, the one guy dies right away. And then the other guy puts up a really pretty good fight.
Yeah. A couple of them did pretty good.
And then the third guy, like, I never understand this about movies. Why are you waiting and fighting one-on-one when you have numbers on your side?
Well, so the first guy dies, the one with the red feathers in his hair, like the most sarcastic one.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the second one, like he communicates with him without talking. Like they do some little hand signal eye thing. And so he comes in on him while the third guy comes around. So like there was, like he started in and the third guy was coming around the other side. So he just took
him out that quickly?
So like he was just, like I think it was just a little bit faster than they were prepared, but like they were trying to do some two-team in, like getting on there.
That makes me feel a little bit better.
Because I saw them make the signals and then I saw number 3 leave while number 2 started to go in and kind of distract him. And then number 3 was able to get like an arrow in or something.
Yeah.
But then he killed number 2 and number 3 was just like kind of struggling. And so I appreciated that they got the arrowed in, so it took down his invisibility, so we got more of a good look of him.
Yeah.
And there's also just the shock factor. Like, you're not going to be as quick because this is something they've literally never seen before.
Never seen this before, yeah.
This isn't something that they know what to do. And so, I like that they were able to talk using their hands gestures. They did get some good hits in, but it took her forever to get her hatchet. I did kind of on that same vein of like, why aren't they both fighting at the same time? Like, it could have gone faster for her to get her hatchet. Like there was multiple moments where she was just stopping and watching and like not really sure what was going on. And so like, I feel like that, like, again, me, the pro hunter, if I was in that scenario, then I would just be moving, super quick. But no, I just think there was a lot going on. Like, these are boys that she's grown up with and she's known.
Yeah.
She doesn't want them to get hurt. So trying to figure out what she needs to do to try to get them all out safely, which isn't going to happen. So.
I did appreciate, so I process that differently because I appreciate that she's paying attention. And even though I want her to move faster, I feel like everything that she's seen helps her later on. So I have a little bit of like, I accept that in a different way.
Gotcha.
So she's fleeing the scene again. And there's this, I was thinking, I don't know if it's exactly like the Art of War, but this like a paraphrased Art of War quote, which is basically like, don't enter a fight you can't win. Like she knows this is not a fight I can win.
This isn't going to happen.
I got to go. And I appreciate that because there is a time to, be strategic, and that's her being strategic. So she's running. The other guy grabs her and pulls her down, and he thinks he's got a shot, and she sees the laser triangle and she's like, no, it's got us. And then she turns and runs, and then you can see, which this was like some really good like camera work. You can see them running. She's in the lead. The other guy's behind her, and the predator is just eating up the steps between them. Yeah. Like just gaining in a ridiculous way, which I think Jeremy told me that the actor that played the predator in this film was 6'5".
Yeah, he was tall. Which
is the original actor, like from the Arnold movie.
Oh, okay.
Was like 7 foot.
Oh, okay. So he was still even shorter.
Yeah, I'm like, wow. And for your frame of reference, guys, and ladies, I am 5 foot. So that's like
anything above like, 5'4" is like, whoo.
I would take like one step or like 3 steps, and he would be like a half a step, and I would be, dead, head cut off.
When we got that first like visual of him, I like seeing his body, like for some reason it just reminded me of Aquaman because of like the different scales and stuff he has.
Oh yeah.
And he's like being pretty muscular. I was just kind of like, oh, like I'm kind of curious if he's from like more of like a water-based planet or like something like that.
I will say he definitely had less armor all over his body, right? Yes. Like in the, like especially in AVP, which I'm being told isn't technically Predator canon. He's wearing a lot of armor.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what he looked like in the others, but
he had the
he
same
definitely didn't look
arm guard.
Yeah.
And he had a similar
helmet.
helmet, but it was a skull. And so there were definitely some similarities, but also this was 1719. And so,
Right.
I mean, you know, a couple hundred years later, he's got
they
some
advance
more
in technology as well.
Yeah.
Which I think is really fun because if you remember enough from the older movies, you see like the Predator's technology has advanced as well.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, that's the cool thing that he used, that he, you know, it got better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Air quotes with better because it's like the weird time thing here, but yeah.
So yeah, we get to her running away and then she steps on a metal trap again.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm just like,
irritates me. Why do they have metal traps laying around?
I'm literally
I
like,
know why, but
who is setting these metal traps? I put who with like
gosh.
4 O's of like, what the heck is going on with these metal traps? Who is setting that? It's not them. Like, where are they?
This isn't the first one we've seen. We saw one
because the
very
dog
early on.
Got one at the tail. Like she saw the chain and like found that somewhere else. And so the predator stops because she's no longer a threat. So she's learning that knowledge. And then it's like, oh, Frenchman. That's who's setting the metal traps. That's all right. Yeah. Got it. Cool. These are guys that are here.
And she gets hit on the head again.
Yep.
Blacks out.
This is just her.
This is the third time she's blacked out. She fell from the tree. The guy punched her.
Yep.
And then the guy hits her with the butt of the gun.
It's fine. I'm sure that she doesn't have a concussion or anything.
Nah.
Yeah. She's still, I mean, honestly, still running and gunning.
Go her.
Yeah. When we got back to camp, I was like, man, that's a lot of Frenchmen. And then I was like, then putting it together. Oh, these are fur trappers. Like, that's why, who killed the buffalo. That makes sense why the predator didn't, you know, was kind of like just coming upon it. Like, a lot of things pieced together for me once I knew that the Frenchmen were there. So did you already kind of know that the Frenchmen were, like, when you first watched it, like, did it take you that long to put together, or am I just a little slow?
I mean, I knew there were white people in it because of the traps and then the cigar. Like, I caught on to that. I just didn't know who they would be.
Okay.
Right. So I didn't know that they were French fur trappers.
Okay.
But that was tools that would not have been there without interference.
Yeah. 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 I think that it's interesting to know that they're smart enough to know that something else is out there. They understand.
They knew that right away.
Her. Yes. Yeah. They're like, okay, what do you see? What do you know? What's going on? And
which is part of why I'm like, I didn't, now knowing that, are you still thinking that he was tracking her?
Instead of the Frenchman?
Or, well, instead of the Frenchman, yeah. I mean, maybe he was tracking them. Or maybe he was just doing other stuff, like collecting other trophies.
So I initially thought that she was tracking her. And then was just kind of like for something to do. Like, that's what he was just tracking her, following along. And then he found the Frenchman. He's like, oh, okay, great. Like, we can go for these guys now. Like, it was just kind of like looking for opportunities. She happened to be there. He's tracking her, and now he's tracking them. Because when he stopped and I think noticed the trap, he was like, oh, she's not the one I want to go after. I now want to go after these French guys because they obviously can catch her. So I'm not going to waste my time with her because she's not top of the food chain. So yeah, I think he's just continually, like, he's tracking and doing stuff until he can get that whoever is higher up on the food chain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her brother was captured.
Yep.
Didn't love that. Yep. Didn't love that they're just cutting him open.
That scene. Yeah.
But I'm also wondering if they're just like, it's a shark rule. Like, we just want blood in the water so we can use them as bait.
Yeah.
I appreciate when they're tied to the tree trunk that she's like, are you injured? I saw you get sliced down your chest, but are you injured? I'm not.
Are you okay other than that?
Yeah.
Is there anything else going on?
Which again, I think just speaks to the physical toughness of what they know they've endured in their lives.
Yeah.
And again, I'm in this point where I'm like, honestly, the first time like she got punched by that one guy, I would have been like, I don't need this. I'm going home.
Absolutely not.
No, my pain tolerance is so not like, it's just not good. It's not there.
Yeah. I really liked getting to see the Predator's shield and just kind of some more of his like fighting techniques in this.
Yes.
I really like his shield. I don't know why. I think it's because it reminds me, I've seen this really pretty brass peacock like fan that's like a fireplace cover that I would love to have for one of the many fireplaces I have in my home. And I think that's why I like it, is because like it fans out and it kind of reminds me of that. And so, yeah. Shout out if any of our listeners can find me a brass peacock like fireplace cover. I'm really interested in it. So, so I really liked that piece. And then kind of after that fighting scene, I thought it was really nice to watch her and the Predator. Like we get to see them both healing themselves, like just working on patching themselves up.
Oh shoot, what is that called? Like at the same time.
Yes. Yeah. We got to see kind of that back and forth of like what that looks like for each of them to, gearing themselves back up. Like, let's go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I appreciated her brother saying that he caught the lion using her plan. Mm-hmm. And that she sees things that he doesn't see. And you can see on her face when as she's talking through what she's seen with the Predator so far, that it didn't go after her when she was caught in the bear trap.
Yep.
Because it didn't recognize her as a threat.
Yeah.
And so that's the first time that we really see and understand that's why it hasn't pursued her in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah.
We also see during that fight scene, we see the Predator like parkouring off the trees, which I love. It's so fun. Also, I have to say, like, you see her do that too. And it's
she does do some jumping around.
It's like about leverage. And I love it. I love it. Anyways, love that.
I really like in the next scene how she does help the Frenchman. And then he starts explaining how to load a gun and like how to do that.
Yeah.
And I just started giggling because if you have ever asked me for a recipe, how he explains how to load a gun is how I explain recipes to people. It's just kind of like, so you're just going to put a little bit of this, not too much, not too little, just a little bit of this. And then you're going to do this. And like, you just put that in there and it'll be fine. And it'll be great. Rogie found one of my like written down recipes on like a Post-it note once. And it literally says like 3 seconds of water. And he's like, what does this mean? And I'm like, you turn on the faucet
flow pressure
for 3 seconds, like a normal amount. And he's like, what does this mean? And so it just made me giggle because the Frenchman and I have the same vibes for giving instructions to people.
So I thought she was going to kill him.
Oh, really?
When she gave him all the orange flour.
See, I didn't think that.
Because she didn't know yet. Mm-hmm. She didn't know until the Predator kills him.
But she didn't give him all of it.
I mean, she shoved his face. I don't think she gave him all of it. You're right.
Yeah, she gave him some, and she gave him some of whatever mushroom or whatever. Like
but she gave him a lot. And they were saying, which I really liked that line at the beginning of the movie when she gives it to the guy that they're dragging home. And he's like, the one guy, the sarcastic guy says something. She's like, do you want him alive or do you want him comfortable?
Yes. Yeah. That made me giggle.
Okay. Yeah. So she gives it to him. I really kind of thought she was like going to kill him there, but I guess she didn't. And I don't think he would have made it back to camp, by the way. I think he would have bled out. Yeah. So I don't know what was happening there, but that was so that she could find out that orange flour lowers your blood temperature, which means the Predator cannot see you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, which obviously sucks so much because he pretended to be dead, which quick thinking there.
He did such a good job with that. And then, it was, as soon as he stepped on him, I was like, that's rough stuff, buddy.
There's no way you cannot react to that.
There's no coming back from it.
This is by the way, the guy is 6'9". No, let me just double check it again.
Oh, the Predator guy?
Yeah. No way that, 6'9", that you're a 6'9", big person, guy, humanoid character is going to step on you, crushing your other leg essentially, and you're not going to feel it. I can't even believe he was coherent enough to give her instructions on how to use the
pistol.
gun. Yeah. Like,
I would have been passed out. I was a goner. I wouldn't have been able to.
And then the dog comes up and I'm like, what are you doing? Shh, don't bark. And then the brother comes up because he's already has to distract the dog.
Yeah.
Or distract the predator from killing the dog who's barking at him.
Yeah.
And he gets in a good lick on the guy's head and knocks the helmet off, which is where we get the understanding that the helmet is actually the targeting system.
Yeah.
So wherever the helmet's pointed is where those bolts are eventually going to end up. So
much learning happened throughout this movie. I mean, like, she had so many good opportunities to figure out what is going on.
And here's where I was really bummed that she wasn't moving just a little bit faster, because her brother dies because she doesn't have a way to help, really, because she's not moving faster, I guess. Yeah. But again, you know, he was doing okay until the predator went back into stealth mode, which I'm sorry, I feel like you're cheating.
Well, he's making his own rules. I really do like the callback, though, that he used the wolf's head to get another lick on him. Like, he pulled that out and was like, no, I'm going to keep doing this. And just the selflessness of the brother. Like, he was a good brother and just wanting to protect his sister and help her along the way and find the right path that she needed to for her. Yeah. And he was just like, nope, like, this isn't about me. Like, you've got the knowledge, you need to use it, but it's not right now. So go.
There were two other lines that he said that I loved. When they were tied to the tree, he said, so this is what you picked for your insert the word that we can't say, your journey or whatever. And which he's kind of like, of course, like, you didn't pick a normal animal.
Yeah.
You went like
crazy.
Yeah. Way
like,
above
this
and
is
beyond.
What we'll
do. What are you thinking? And so there was kind of a little acknowledgement of a joke there. And then the other thing that he said that I really liked, she was saying, I don't know if we can kill it. And he said, if it can bleed, we can kill it, or something to that effect, which I really liked. He's saying he's on a journey himself, right? He's kind of doesn't believe her, but he understands her and he sort of respects that she knows what she's doing. And she proves herself along the way multiple times, but he still is her brother. So he's still kind of like, little sister, I don't know.
Yeah.
And so he's like on this journey himself. And then I love that he says that, because I feel like it's like, trust yourself.
Yeah.
We can kill it. We just have to know what we're doing. You know, we don't know that yet, but we can do it. And so I feel like that was sort of a like unifying and like confidence booster for her. And then he dies, of course. Yeah. Which is kind of a bummer. I wouldn't have minded him not dying. I don't think we really needed him to die for her to win, but I think
for her to do it on her own.
For her to do it on her own, we did. Because he would have been there. Yeah.
So it just depends on what kind of ending you wanted.
Yeah. But he gives her time and she runs again.
Yeah.
And again, this is she can't win that fight. And so then she sees the guy. She's
Cigar Man.
Yeah. She sees him. And I think, catch me if I'm wrong here, but I think the little tool that she took out of the one guy's leg,
she used on him.
She knocks this guy out
100%.
And then she does the same thing and takes off part of his leg.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang.
When he wakes up, and I'm telling you how much my skin crawled when I heard them, and I was like, no. And then I saw them, and all I could think of was the 1984 George Orwell book have you read that book?
I actually have not. It was not a required reading for me. I haven't read it.
No spoilers, but there's a scene with some rats, and it is terrifying.
Oh, yeah. So I relate that to Too Fast, Too Furious. Have you seen that?
I mean, yes, like years ago.
Yeah, when they put the rat on his belly and then they put the bucket over it. It's a metal bucket and they start heating up the bucket and the rat starts like
clawing his way out. Yeah. So yeah, lots of gross rat scenes that media has used, and I'm not about it. But I was just, I was automatically icked out because I can't handle tiny rodents of any kind. That's one of my things. I can't do it. But I really liked that it gave her a nice chance to do a good monologue. I was ready for that. Yeah. I was like, okay, here we go. Like, she's explaining to him what's going on and how he's annoying, like just been the worst. And yeah, so I liked that she had the opportunity to kind of spell it out of, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I have to, yada, yada. So that was fun.
And then she has nothing to lose because here comes the predator and he walks right past her.
Yeah. I was intrigued of how the flower medicine works so well with lowering the blood pressure and how it's like immediate. I'm really curious how long it lasts. Like, what is the duration? Because I mean, they've just kind of been whipping it out quite a bit. So I was a little curious about that. But I really was excited for like this final fight scene between them, of just seeing all of the tricks that she was going to pull out from being able to watch him so long. Okay, what was she going to do from what she's learned?
Which she has the spikes in the trees, which I loved. And she cuts off his arm.
Yep.
Like, dang, girl. And the thing about the fight scene at the end and this is for any kind of scene like this, where you're trying to lure the person to a very specific spot, I'm always anxious because everything could go wrong to get from point A to point B, even if it's 3 feet. Yep. If you drop a half a second sooner, or if they decide not to take that half a step towards you or whatever, for whatever reason, like, it's always.
When she took the one step out of the way, because like she felt him behind her, but he couldn't see her because of the medicine she had taken. Like, if he had bumped into her, I'm sure that he would have kind of looked around and figured out what was going on. And how she ensured that the gun was there, so that way it looks like, okay, he's the guy attacking me. So like, this is what we got to do. I mean, just so many little details that were involved in it. Yeah. I appreciated it. I liked it.
Oh, we should say, like, she shoots the gun at the back of his head and his helmet pops off and she grabs it and runs. So she obviously had planned out where she needed to go. She'd planned out all the little traps to like make it work. And then she drops him into the sinkhole or quicksand, maybe. I'm not really sure which it is, which I'm like, how crazy would it have been if that had worked? Like, that works. And
I would have needed to have
there's
like
a predator just
written down all of these scenarios to like figure it out. And she's just out there on the fly, like, okay, we'll do this, this, and this. And I'm just like, whew, you go, girl, because I got nothing.
The mental capacity that she had to be like processing. I'm sorry, it's a lot. I'm not sorry. I don't know why I said that. I'm for sure it's a lot of mental capacity to go through that and then to execute.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively, because she does end up, he ends up killing himself by blowing his head off.
Yeah. Before that, though, she did rip out one of his teeth and stabbed him with it.
Crazy.
And I was just like, ooh, I don't know if I would have the guts or the strength to reach up into something's mouth.
Yep.
As I'm being pinned down and almost, decapitated.
If you're going to die,
I guess you might as well go all the way.
From dying, I feel like it's hard to know what you would do if you haven't experienced that.
Yeah. And I mean, the dog just came in. I mean, just still dog training, like just helped her out through that. And I was curious that the fox or the swamp didn't affect him at all.
The dog?
No, the predator. Like when he got in, he started to come back up.
Yeah. I don't know
why. He just kind of, I don't know if he's got some fins down there and he's just kind of swimming his way back up. I don't know.
Because it doesn't work like that.
That's what I thought. But he went down and I was like, okay, wow. So like, this is it. This is how it takes him down, is the swamp. And then he just starts to slowly rise again. And I'm like, okay. And again, I thought that she was using the helmet as bait, like the lion. And that's why she had it set up. I didn't realize that it was because of the whole tracking thing. So that was just kind of a fun. I don't feel like I was as on top of it this movie as I have been in some of the past ones that we've done for Flabbergasted. So when did you realize
that's what it was?
Till it was happening.
Oh, you're like,
it was going through. Yeah. Like, because I genuinely thought that like, it was like, okay, this is what he did for the lion. It worked for the lion. So I'm going to take it and use it as bait for him. And then she ended up using it as the tracking thing. Well, it's like as soon as it happened, I was like, oh, this makes 100% sense.
For
it was
sure,
just not what I thought it was going to be.
The bullet wasn't working.
Yeah.
She didn't have the physical strength to take him out, especially after all of her non-buddies fought him. Yeah. Like, it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
I love that they did not show her dragging the whole body back to camp because that would have been so unrealistic.
Do that. Well, I don't know if she could have gotten it out of the swamp.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she could have, but honestly, dragging it that far back to camp is ridiculous. But she did take the head, which I get. Mm-hmm. And they made her the new war chief. Mm-hmm. Which
there weren't any other young men around
that
either,
we know of.
That we know. Maybe they were out on another hunting party.
I did appreciate the little nod it gave us to the little girl that was watching her, because I think that
just kind of opened more doors for females in the tribe.
Yeah. And I appreciated that. And then she says, like, we need to move to a more defensible position because I'm paraphrasing, but basically the French fur trappers are here now too. So we need to deal with this. And then the credits start to roll and you see like the drawings of the events of the movie, which I think is really fun too.
Yeah. So. To be honest, I skipped through those just to see if there was like a thing at the end, because Marvel has trained me that
there might be something at the end.
There might be something at the end. So I didn't watch those. I kind of skipped through.
Yeah. Well, I did notice at the end of sort of the drawings, there's the one where she's becoming the war chief. And then there's like a next clip where there are more lightning in the clouds.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So that might open up to of like, okay, there could be a 2. There could be a second
another
one.
Yeah.
Possibly. Interesting.
I mean,
that's kind of fun.
I think it's, even if they didn't want to open it up to a sequel to this particular movie, just the fact that this is a prequel and it was set so far ahead.
Yeah.
So far previous to the Arnold film.
Yeah. That we could get a Wild Wild West one.
I mean, yeah.
My
point is, like, even if they don't put another movie in there, the Predators come back to Earth because of the other movies. So it tracks, but it could be fun. Be fun. So what did you think overall?
I mean, I enjoyed it. Like, I think I prefer the other Predator movies just because it is, I mean, this one is pretty action-y, but there's also a lot of learning involved. And so and also that's what I grew up with. But I would definitely watch it again. This is one that I'm not going to do it all the time, but I think it would be nice to kind of watch them in succession.
Yeah.
With the other ones, just to kind of see, like, pick up some of those different things and kind of compare them. But I mean, it was a good action-based. It was a nice seeing that female lead. It was a good boy, good dog. Like, I'm all for a good dog in a movie. And so, he or she was probably one of my favorite characters, was the dog. So I just, shout out to all my dogs.
For sure. I really enjoy the dog. I really enjoy good dogs in movies. And Amber Midthunder is the lead actress name. And something I read, and I don't know how correct this is, but they said, like, some of those fight scenes, like, she was even sick.
Oh, wow.
And she was still performing them. So she was like pulling it out and like, making it happen, which I think is really great.
Yeah.
I mean, there's part of me that's like, if you're sick, you should rest. But then there's another part of me that's like, as an actor, I understand that you have a lot of people depending on you to film the scene and stay on budget and stay like in schedule and everything. So I get that. So good for her for rocking it out and being tough. And I would watch her in other things too. I think I enjoyed watching her.
So did she remind you of anyone?
No.
Okay, so halfway through the movie, like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, she looks familiar. Not like crazy familiar. It's not like, oh my gosh, like, is this other actress or anything? But about halfway through, I think it was whenever she got trapped by the French people and she was in the cage, her eyes got even bigger. And I was like, oh, April Ludgate, which is Audrey Plaza from Parks and Rec. And like sometimes her eyes are like really big. And so like that's for some reason who she reminded me of.
Interesting.
Was her. Like not in any of her demeanor. Well, other than like maybe her flat tone of how she was just very consistent. Like there wasn't a huge range of emotion from her. It was all just very steady, which I think was from almost everyone too.
There wasn't a huge range of emotion verbally, but her face conveyed a lot of different emotions.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated. And probably, I mean, I don't know to say that, but I mean, could have been another thing that was just part of a culture thing.
Yeah. I mean, she stayed level-headed with her mom, her brothers, and the boys, even while they were fighting. Like there wasn't, yelling. There wasn't, this big back and forth like match scenes. Like they were just kind of just even.
She didn't get to the point where she was so in the moment that she forgot her purpose and her goal that she had set for herself.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate. The character. Yeah, so I would definitely watch it again. What was your favorite scene, do you think?
Oh, good question. Any of them with the dogs in it for sure. But I think I did enjoy the scene where she got stuck in the sinkhole. And just like, because it was stressful of her I was like, obviously she's not going to die,
right?
But like, is her brother going to come along and save her? Like, is she going to be able to do it on her own? Like I thought that was a fun scene of just being able to see her do it. And it really did get down to the minute. Like it wasn't an easy thing for her. It wasn't something that she was just like, oh yeah,
we saw her struggle through it.
Yeah. So I think that was a fun scene.
It was relatable.
Yeah.
I mean, as relatable as getting stuck in,
all the times I get stuck in a stunk hole. What was your favorite scene?
I think I really liked when they're tied to the tree together and they're chatting. And I liked that because I feel like a lot of realizations happened for both of them right there.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was a lot of character growth, right? Like in that time period. Yeah. And again, I'm just going to say, I didn't mention this earlier, but I feel like the Predator was cheating because he set off the bomb. And
he's just using his resources, Jess. He just happens to have more resources than literally everyone else.
Which, I mean, I guess I get that, but I'm just saying, do you really win if you have, like, he's
nobody
not
else
actually
is
better.
Standing.
It's not an even playing field. You know what I'm saying?
So okay, but like, do you want all fights to start off with like, okay, everyone has access to the all same weapons and let's see who wins?
Well, I think in this instance, you're not fighting. They're fighting for survival. He's playing a game.
Yeah.
Or whatever, if there's a gender assigned to predators, but
in my head, like this is the Predator's thing of like, of them show like, yeah, this is their journey or whatever. And so they just go and get dropped off on, let's say there's a multiverse, like different planets and stuff like that.
Survive.
And they have to survive. It doesn't matter how, it doesn't matter who, it doesn't matter when, like this is their goal. They've got this allotted amount of time or whatever to do it. And whoever survives. And he didn't.
Okay, I want to see the Predator movie where they get dropped off at a planet of a more advanced race than them. That's what I want to see. And I want to see who wins then. I mean, I'll still root for Predator. But I just want to see. That's sort of, I guess, what AVP kind of was.
I mean, yeah, they get a little bit more of that. Yeah.
But I would be curious. I'm just throwing it out there. Movie ideas. I would be curious. But anyways, that was my favorite scene. I will watch this again. This is my second time watching it. I probably will watch it again just because I feel like there's like so many fun little details that you can find. And I really liked experiencing a world that, I'm not familiar with and learning more about it. So.
Yeah. Did you watch it in English or did you watch it in Comanche?
Yeah, so I watched it in English because I took the notes on it. What they did is the film was shot in English and later dubbed in Comanche with the entire cast performing an alternate all Comanche dub of the film, which is crazy that the whole cast dubbed it, which is just crazy because everybody did it, which is awesome. But I didn't watch it in Comanche because we talked about the dubbing thing and how it can be kind of
It throws off
takes
when
me
their
out of
mouths
the-
don't match what's going on.
For whatever reason, I can read subtitles, but the dubbing gets it makes it hard for me to watch it, which I think is interesting. Like, I can read the subtitles that are on the screen, and that doesn't take me out of the movie, but...
I did want to watch the Comanche version, but I accidentally started on the English version, and I saw that like their lips and the words were lined up, and so I was like, I'm just sticking with it because I had already started it. But I went through because I was frustrated. Like, I understand they're speaking French, but the subtitles are also in French. So I have no idea what the Frenchmen were saying the entire time. And so I'm like, huh? And there was a couple times, like in Comanche, like they were speaking in Comanche, and so that wasn't translated either.
Right.
So there's multiple times in multiple languages I didn't know what was being said or going on. So I went to the other version, like the Comanche version, and they still don't have... I looked, like they still don't have the subtitle, like the subtitles are still in Comanche and in French. And I'm just like,
you're like,
I'm missing out
know what they're saying
on 7 minutes of this movie because I don't know these languages. But yeah, so that was a little tough for me because I would like to know what's being said. I mean, you can get the general gist of it, but I want to know all of it. So.
Yeah.
And it's just me.
Okay, I think that's it. We will talk again in the future about another movie. You can call in and leave us a message, or you can shoot us a text message and let us know if you liked Prey, and which, by the way, is streaming on Hulu in case you didn't pick that up from our breadcrumbs that we were dribbling along.
Shout out to Hulu, sponsor us. Flabbergasted.
240-MOVIE-76. 240-668-4376. So call or text us there, and you can find us on Instagram at FlabberPod. Call us and or text us. We want to hear what you guys think, and if you have movie suggestions, we would be, we might consider that too. Thanks. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.